I convene the March 12th, 2025 Personnel and Policy Committee meeting to order at 7 p.m. For roll, should we just?
Oh, I get the roll?
I can take care of it, yeah.
Okay.
Vanessa Berry,
Here.
Emily Swistak,
Here.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Here.
Debbie Bryan,
Here.
Tatiana Weinstein.
Here.
Will Savage. Here.
Okay, agenda item 2 is opportunity for visitors to speak. Public comment is for the general public to address the board. Each person will have up to 5 minutes to provide public comment. So seeing no one, we'll move to 3. Agenda item 3 is to approve the minutes of the November 3rd, 2024 Personnel and Policy Committee meeting. Can I have a motion and a second?
I will motion to approve the minutes of the November 3rd, 2024 Personnel and Policy Committee meeting.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Vanessa Berry,
Aye.
Emily Swistak,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Debbie Bryan.
Aye.
Okay, agenda item 4 is to discuss LLD policy 720 investments. Walk us through the reps.
Okay, yes, I can. So before we go through all of them, I just wanted to make mention that in the packet, every trustee has a copy of the current policy, as well as the red line policy and a clean copy for easy reading. The 720 investment policy was last updated in 2018. And I'm just gonna go through a brief overview, and then if we wanna get into it, and I will take note of any changes that are requested. So last updated in 2018, there's also in the packet, there's the statute that our investment advisor recommended we include as part of our policy. The statute was enacted in 2024. Tammy Olszewski is our Ellers advisor, and she also worked with me on this policy. So I appreciate all of her input on this. And she also made some organizational recommendations in the policy too. So thank you, Tammy. First, I've updated the policy to better reflect more recent policy changes that we've made in the past few years by including an introductory statement, as well as categorizing the sections using alphabetically and numerically and so on through the policy. I did use a majority of the wording that was in the previous policy, but I titled them more appropriately, and then I just rearranged some of the paragraphs into better organizational format, especially in item A. I also removed the reference to a finance manager because we no longer have one here. Under item B, Tammy did a lot of the heavy lifting under item B because she updated the language and made sure we included credit unions as part of our investment, including the banks, and also she included the Sustainability Act information here. And then under item C, we concluded this policy by consolidating the internal controls and reporting references into one category, and also letting the public know where they can find investment documents, and reiterating that we have a annual audit. So, was there any? I have to get to my here. If we wanted to do any adjustments or formatting changes.
One correction under A number 3.
Okay.
It says LLD Financial Committee, and then second to last.
Oh.
Instead of financial.
Yes, thank you.
Good catch. Yeah. I just channel my inner Emily as I read.
Yes. Okay.
I didn't even catch that one.
Yeah. Other than that, it looked good to me.
I'm still a little confused with our reference to LLD, Lisle Library District, and then reverting back to the district. I mean, is there any reason, excuse me, why we can't use one term? We are a district, LLD, but so, for example, the first paragraph, the Lisle Library District. So we use the acronym LLD, great. And then we go, read on, of the district. Then under A, we talk about the district, but we're also using LLD in there. I guess it's a matter of just semantics. Does it matter?
I see what you're saying. I think I use the term LLD when I'm talking about the more of the organization, and maybe I'm not being consistent, and we can change this. But when I'm talking about the whole organization, and then when I use the term district, it's more about like the regional district. But I might be using it interchangeably. We can absolutely change it.
I'm not suggesting that, just for my information, more so that,
And part of it is for readability as well.
right.
Yeah, I think if you say
Abbreviated.
LLD over and over again,
Right,
like
right.
it gets hard to read.
I feel like, yeah, you use like a proper name and then you say she, so that's how I'm kind of reading it. When you
Okay.
refer to the district, it's kind of
Okay.
just a different
Different
way.
way,
Yeah. So,
Well, and I think it's good, like, you're not interchanging like the district and the library, like you keep it pretty consistent between
Okay.
LLD and district, so.
I'm good with that. Thank you.
thank you for asking. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but I get what you're saying too.
Did anyone else have any?
It's great.
No, it was great. It was
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
that you consolidated so
Yeah.
much of
And
this.
Tammy, like I said,
language.
helped a lot. So
Yeah,
I really appreciate
yeah,
her work.
yeah.
And I like the inclusion of the act too, the
Yeah.
zero investing act
Absolutely.
afterwards, that helps as well. And the fact that you're reformatting it to be in line with the other policies we recently
Right,
Nice.
right, yep.
worked with.
Okay, so are we comfortable moving this policy to the full board?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
So, do we need to vote on that, or that's just?
You just consensus opinion moving to the full.
Great. Okay, so agenda item 5 is to discuss the bylaw policy, LLD policy 200. So do you want to walk us through that one?
Sure. So the board bylaws were last updated in 2020, and I just want to mention that updating this policy came about when President Swistak mentioned that one of the board policies, and I couldn't remember if it was 200 or 201, referenced a certain area in the library that no longer exists or has been changed around. And also, there's other things due to the renovation that needed to be updated. So since we were looking at one of the board policies, I also looked at the other one per Chairwoman Berry's blessing, especially since we're also having an election. It would make good sense to update the two board-specific policies. So starting at the top, for the bylaws, first of all, the word bylaws is not hyphenated, so we eliminated that. And then, like in other policy updates, there's now an introductory statement. That statement references the Public Library District Act of 1991 and then uses the language that is in that act in this introduction. So if it's a little weirdly worded, it's straight from the statute. And then the introduction also gives a brief outline of the main duties. And then obviously another really big change in this policy is the elimination of the articles. All those articles have been struck out to better mirror the other policies that we have format-wise. So looking under item A, the district's official name per statute was affirmed. Again, this is straight from the statute. And then we give also the common name, Lisle Library District, Board of Trustees, as well as our address. We never had that in there. So that was under A. Under B, there's just better wording for the objectives. Under C, we listed the election and vacancy information with just better formatting. Under D, there's a summary that goes into procedure and the roles of the officers that better outlines their duties. And I think that's a little bit more of the treasurer was outlined there, because in the previous policy for the investments, there was better definition under the treasurer. So we just pulled that into this. Under E, I consolidated a few of the articles that include remote attendance, regular meetings, and how votes occur, as well as special meetings. That's all under item E now instead of separate articles. Under F, there's not much change here outside of adding a reference to committee agendas, so we don't have to repeat the exact same wording under the committees. And then under G, committees we just struck the repeated wording. Under H, kept consistent by using the term administrative office versus business office. We were like switching back and forth, and that we just want to keep it administrative office. And then under I, most things remain the same here, however, just formatted using numbering and letters and better outlining how the director works with the president and trustees. J, we reference the resolution that supports the ALA Bill of Rights because the board passed a resolution. We wanted to put that in here. Under K, I just added the word all there. Under L, this was another consolidation of articles at the end of the current policy that could just fall under one category. And that's it. Let me get to if there are any adjustments that need to be made in the bylaws.
Can I ask a question? So you were saying that the opening paragraphs, that's like from the statute? That's why the wording's a
Shall
little
be for the
strange?
use of, yeah.
Yeah,
We
okay.
can change it.
No, it's okay. I just was like, the whole thing, I like just put marks around it because I was like, wait, but
Yeah.
if it's from the statute, then okay, that's fine.
And it's not the exact, I mean, the words are exact from the statute. I consolidated because the statute, it's a long paragraph.
Well, so
We
like
can change it.
the second sentence, I read over so many times and I couldn't figure out how to read it like appropriately to make it work in my brain. Yeah.
We do not have to use.
So I'm trying to understand like how it's supposed to be read. So if you have insight into how it's supposed to be read.
I do not.
The LLD shall be for the use of residents, taxpayers, and I was gonna put
I would
in
say
C,
the public, yeah,
public.
that's kind of the one
Subject
thing
to
I saw.
reasonable rules and regulations, the LLD Board of Trustees adopts to provide the greatest benefit to the greatest number of residents and taxpayers. So I think,
Wordy.
yeah,
So it's
I
wordy.
would say put a comma after trustees adopts. Just, I don't know,
We don't, again,
and
This
add the
I was
public.
looking for an introduction because I went to the statute and I pulled pieces of how they describe what a board is for, and I used it. So this is for discussion
Yeah.
purposes. So we can chop it up. We can put it into two sets. We don't have to use the exact statute.
Okay. I'm just struggling with that sentence myself, so I don't know if
Yeah, no, I did too.
I mean, it sounds just way more like legalese than
Yeah.
anything else we have. Like it technically makes sense, and it
Okay.
technically, yes, like it's not easy to read.
Okay.
But,
It's super long.
yeah.
We can like put a period after the public and then
Mhm.
rephrase that next
Yeah,
sentence.
Yes, I think that would be good.
Okay.
Okay. And we said the public, right?
Yes.
You
Yeah, I
said
have
residents,
that.
taxpayers, and
The
the public. Okay.
Because
And
those
then-
are all three separate things that can be three separate
Okay.
users.
And then
so then we have to reference back to residents, taxpayers, and the public, because that is who is subjected to these reasonable rules.
But we can rephrase it completely too.
Yeah.
We can say the LLD Board of Trustees adopts reasonable rules and regulations to provide.
Yeah, I think.
How about that?
For sure.
That's
okay, thank you. I think it's the subject to that kept
Yeah.
throwing me.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, no, it's strange.
Okay. So you said the LLD Board of Trustees
Adopts
Adopts.
reasonable rules
and regulations
and regs.
to provide,
To
so it's just
provide.
in there, in between there? Okay.
Does that flow a little bit better?
Sorry.
No.
No, this is why we're here.
No,
Yeah.
This was a hard one.
That was
Looking
just
at
a
my-
doozy for me, really. I mean, I did,
Yeah,
I'm reading it
I think
over and
about-
over again. I'm like, I don't know.
Just
the
not
pause,
smart
I don't
enough
know
to
where
understand this?
I know.
Is that-
I did the same thing. It was like, how do you make this make more sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you.
For the title LLD Board Bylaws, do you usually write LLD or is it Lisle Library District? Wasn't sure if it should be spelled out.
Up here,
Yeah,
because I think in the
is that how it
previous,
is usually?
in the previous one, I mean, I'm
I don't
looking at
know.
the other
I
ones.
feel like some of the policies, when you've like retitled
The LLD
them,
Board
they
of
just have been
Trustees.
LLD,
Yeah,
right?
it's LLD, the title.
Well, should we
yes.
say Board of Trustees instead of just Board, or does it need to be? At
More
the in the
formalized for the
title.
title, yeah.
Oh, LLD board bylaws.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying LLD board of trustees bylaws?
Yeah, yeah. Because that we refer to the LLD Board of Trustees in that opening paragraph. So
I think either way is fine.
discussion.
Yeah.
If you wanna be consistent with 201, I guess.
What is 201?
The title is
Oh,
board.
it is board of trustees.
Right.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
either one or the
Sure,
other,
one or
right?
the
Yeah, make
other,
them the
right.
same.
That makes sense.
Okay, we'll put that in there.
Okay, so board of trustees bylaws.
Okay.
Just random stuff. The under B1, you have a period at the end of the
Oh.
sentence.
Do we want? That was a question. Do we want periods at the end of?
Right.
If you
Any
look
of
at
them or
all
no?
the rest of them, none of them have periods after
Right.
it. It's just that one.
Okay.
Number one got one put in. So, I want to say for uniformity, before we talked about not having them in
Yeah.
any. I feel like that's what we've done in
Okay.
previous.
Okay.
Is that we didn't have them in any.
We'll strike it. Easier to take
I
one
mean,
out
unless it
than
was a
put
complete
100
sentence.
back in.
Well, unless it was
yeah.
a complete sentence.
Yeah.
Now say I don't know, because if we go further to
There's a couple
I3, they do have periods at the end.
Do they?
Yeah, under I3,
Right.
grievance.
I1 does not though.
No, but C3 does.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it,
Yeah.
You can
So
take it out of 3 then.
it bounces around.
All right.
But the thing
I
is
wasn't
that
sure
it
about that because some of them
have more than one sentence
If it's
there.
like just a phrase,
Uh-huh.
then I feel like it doesn't need a period. But if you've got like multiple sentences under, then
Which-
you shouldn't
which
just
that
not
one
have
does.
a period at the end.
Should we have a period then? With the multiple sentences ones?
Probably.
I'm thinking yes, because there's a period in the middle of it, so then it would just seem weird not to have a period.
But I feel like this one we're talking about, the B1, shouldn't because it's a phrase.
Gotcha.
And we'll see.
I have a question on D. I'm sorry, 2 vacancies, letter E,
Mhm.
fails to attend all regular board meetings for a period of 1 year. Does that mean would we want to consider missing 6 or more? I mean, how can you literally miss all, every
Well,
single-
so
Maybe I misunderstood.
That was from the previous.
No, no.
previous-
and there, well, in looking in C, it does say the board shall call not fewer than 5 regular meetings.
Okay,
So they're saying that we have to have at least 5 meetings per year. So if they missed all and there was just 5 that year, like it would be 5. So I don't know if you wanna put a number on it. That, I mean, we've been doing 12. We've been doing one
Right.
regular meeting every month, so we've been doing 12.
I suppose like during periods of COVID, we may have missed a meeting simply because,
And that's fine.
no, just.
Yeah, like is there some kind of like regulation or like guideline around that of what happens? Like
It seems like missing 12. I mean,
Would
like
be a
it should be
problem.
like more than half or something.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, that,
I mean-
I feel like that's being very lenient to have somebody It's miss an fine. entire I season. will look into the legality
Yeah.
of that.
I mean-
This did come from the previous policy. I made no changes there. I just reformatted it, but I can double check that and see if that's like a statutory, like.
yeah,
if
that's
you
what I
miss-
was kind of
You
wondering.
miss
think
every regular
Yeah.
There are
meeting.
some statutory with different municipal,
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
that, I guess that's why, because,
I will check.
So, and I'm curious about the, right under C, that intro paragraph under C about 5, like shall call
That
not
is
fewer than
statutory.
5. So
That is
that's statutory.
Absolutely, I know
So
that.
if it's 5 regular meetings, I mean, then should we set a number then for this? Because there's a difference between not being able to attend 5 meetings versus not being able to attend 12. I feel like if we were making more.
Yeah, half of
But I
the
don't know.
meetings or,
Or does it matter?
doesn't matter, right,
Doesn't matter.
I will look into it. I will
Thank you.
see what
Yeah.
the limits are and if it's like 50% of the meeting, 75%,
Mhm.
or is it
Yeah.
regular meetings in 1 year,
Yeah.
regardless of how
How
many you
many.
have?
Yeah, because I feel like it depends too, because it's like somebody could have a medical emergency,
Exactly.
and then it's fine if they miss a few meetings. Where if somebody is just blowing it off, then
But there's options for remote,
Right.
meetings as well, so.
Okay, I will look into it.
And then I have another, just grammatical under I, library director. Number 1, duties. I, we need to move over the O in operating.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
Oh, I see it.
Nice.
I
Emily,
see it.
And also on letter H, administrative records. We talk, in the first sentence, we talk about administrative staff. I think in other areas, we actually spell out. To me, if you worked in an office environment, administrative was any general employee. It would be like, a secretary, a clerk, and we have spelled out previously director, assistant director, and business office manager. Just wondering if we should spell that out. Because I could interpret administrative staff. Are some of our librarians part of the administrative staff?
No.
Not referring to this. I don't know, just for discussion.
Well, I put appropriate administrative staff,
Okay.
and I know this is all records and accounts. However, like our IT manager might have some account information, some records. Our business office manager may. So, I could list the director, assistant director, IT manager, business office manager. Can you think of any other administrative staff that would have records or accounts? In admin? That's why I put
feel
appropriate.
like appropriate covers it though, because it's more of a
The only reason I question it is because it is about records, highly confidential. You don't want administrative staff, but appropriate
Yeah.
if you think it covers it,
So-
that's fine.
Well, it's not just confidential.
And do you mean
Like
like,
invoices are records. And that's not
Right.
confidential.
so could we say like appropriate administrative staff as designated by or determined by the library director or something like that because just appropriate kind of leaves it a little bit looser.
I guess are you thinking somebody would want to have the, access to the records, like, the head of technical services, or is that what we're kind of going for, thinking that the department heads are kind of administrative staff? And they could, say, hey, I'm under this here, and
I assumed that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marjorie, that Marjorie was talking about just if patrons were reading this and then wondering who the administrative staff is that has access to
I
it.
see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I didn't preface it with that.
But I assume that's where you're coming from,
Okay.
just based on the examples you were
Okay.
given about secretaries and things like that.
Yeah, I was looking at it more from a different side.
Yeah, I think adding like as determined by the library director.
Appropriate staff.
There's another part under what is this? D to D, treasurer, where it says financial committee again.
Thank you.
It was probably copy and pasted from the other one.
You said D to D.
In the middle.
Under primary roles.
You said
Uh,
I? You said D? Oh, sorry.
D under the officer elections. And then
I see.
It's like in the middle of it because it's in there twice, but one says
Financial.
financial and one says finance.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. It's on the wrong page.
And then under G committees in that like second sentence, personnel and policy, is there a space between
Oh,
personnel
yes,
and
there
policy?
is.
Yes. Okay.
That's all I had. Did anyone else have any other questions about?
Oh, yes. We were just on this page. Sorry, I didn't say it. So under committees, G, but go to the top of the next page. Actually, the second paragraph, it says it has by-law instead of the one word like you were saying at the title, bylaw, item F, board bylaw.
What number?
So right above H,
G H.
but then go right above on the page where H is, go right
Oh,
above
I
it.
see it.
It says by-law instead of bylaw.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have anything else. I don't know if anyone else does.
Okay, are we comfortable moving this one to the full board? Okay, agenda item 6 is to discuss LLD policy 201, Board of Trustees, Code of Conduct and Ethics. Policy. Would you like to go through that?
Sure. Okay, so this one was last updated in 2019 and not a lot of changes happening here. This was the one that referenced the codes instead of the key cards in the admin office. And then also under item CA, it referenced like adult services, and we don't need to do that. It can be done anywhere in the library. Item E, I added an additional ending to the sentence. Again, this is up for discussion. We can completely strike it. For some reason, when I reviewed this policy, I was like, intoxication is one thing, but I'm not sure that covers the other piece, but we don't have to add that. It was just up for discussion. And that was it. I think that was one of the only changes. And I think we had this conversation about in our code of conduct for patrons.
Right.
And but I don't know if you wanna do something different or the same here.
Yeah, I wonder what did we decide on?
It's on
I was just gonna ask you the
I
same
wish I
thing.
had your policy.
We can look it up.
You can look it up on it's online on the library's website.
So this is interesting. While Vanessa's looking that up, so under C, look at where we have more than one sentence. We have a period after the first sentence and then nothing at the end
That's
of it.
the one that I wasn't sure.
So I mean, that must have been what we decided when we created this policy, was that we would,
Are we doing periods then? With double sentences, we're gonna do periods, correct?
I mean, yeah, so I mean,
Yeah.
we clearly didn't. We did it in the first sentence, but not
Mhm.
any subsequent.
Yeah, no,
Like
it
full
seems
sentences, we
consistent through the document,
Uh-huh.
but
Alright,
yeah.
Yeah.
I will do periods.
You're gonna drive yourself crazy trying to find all the spots.
It's okay.
It's okay.
I have some general questions. I don't know if they're need to be included in the policy or not, but as long as we're talking about this for my information. Just want to clarify, under B2, branding LLD logo. B, I needed to ask Tatiana a question regarding the recent campaign. I wanted to use the photo that is on the website showing us individually. It's one of my better photos. And I don't have a lot of those. And that discussion came up. So when you say that it's an LLD logo, that's not a logo, but I believe Tatiana, you explained to me that it's property of the library.
Yes.
So
Good point.
do we differentiate in here?
Yeah,
Anything
I
else?
think that's a good point. We could
Uh-huh.
add
Okay.
that it would be LLD logo or property for personal political
I mean,
or
I'm so
financial gain.
glad I asked because
I think that
Yeah.
and when we
You would
discussed
wanna
it,
do it, yeah.
it was I think it is an ethic. I mean, this is an ethics policy, and from everything I've read, under elections and use of public property, we wanted. I think when we originally talked about the logo, we were very concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
But Like for instance, you could take a picture of yourself in front of the public library.
Right,
That is
I
fine.
learned that from the last.
But if the library took the photo of you, it's the library's property.
Yeah.
So I think adding
Okay.
or LLD logo or property for personal, political,
Okay.
or financial gain makes a lot of sense.
Does
Okay.
that still fall under the header of branding / LLD logo then?
We can change that too. We can say LLD logo and property.
Well, like we ran into that with that last time when we turned in our packets when we were running.
yeah.
We had someone from the library just snap a picture on my phone and then realized, oh shoot, we can't use that.
Right, because she took
because
it.
she was
Yeah,
working
yeah,
when she
yeah.
took it.
So maybe branding, LLD logo, and LLD property. Okay.
Okay, so in the patron code of conduct, it says possession or consumption of alcoholic beverages while on LLD property is prohibited, as is entering the library in a state of intoxication. Consumption, use of cannabis products while on LLD property is prohibited. Any inebriated behavior, whether via legal, prescriptive, or illegal means, may prompt a call to the appropriate local authority. So it kind of lists both of them.
Say it again. You kind of what?
It kind of lists both of them.
Which is like a little bit different, right? If you're a
Yeah,
patron versus
right.
if you are a trustee and you're
Representative.
coming in and you're supposed to be making decisions.
Right. Yeah. Because they're talking about using it on the property versus,
public
you know,
space.
right. And it, this is, attending and with.
I think adding the under the influence of drugs that may impair decisions is good because I feel like that covers illegal drugs and also like
Over the counter.
are you
Right,
crazy
right,
people
yeah,
or
right,
yeah.
yeah.
Or
Mhm.
Benadryl that's gonna knock
Yeah.
you out or something.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's appropriate and
Can we go back to the B2, the thing that Marjorie was talking about? So if we're adding the heading to that for number 2, right? Branding / LLD logo / LLD property. Do we need to do something in the AB below to make sure that we are covering what we mean by LLD property? Because right now it still just says, it's still about the logo. Both of the, like A and B both talk about the logo. So should we say something else to refer to
Yeah.
what we're talking about when we say LLD property?
like
Such as.
like LLD property includes media and
Just thinking,
I mean, and I guess because you're talking about the property, it's on the library's website, it was taken by a library staff member, like,
yeah.
I don't know how to make it,
without a 10-sentence paragraph.
Yeah.
Well, I think A can stand alone.
oh, absolutely.
I think B can say trustee shall not utilize the LLD logo or property, which includes media, photos. Like it can't be one of our videos that we,
So
anything
it's-
from an event.
so it's-
yeah.
or we could say such as, or property such as media, LLD media, photos. Or do you want to
Like,
explain
I feel
what
like
that
we
is?
need to, if we're saying photos, I feel like we need to specify that it is photos taken by the LLD. Because you said that like we could come in on our own, take a picture with our own and use it. But if it's the LLD took it, put it on the website, you know what I mean? Like
So
it's-
maybe, go ahead.
I would say, were we specifying photos or were we just saying LLD property?
Well, that's the question. I mean, how do we make this clear so that people know? So like Marjorie said that she asked,
Property for me covers it.
it does cover
Because
for
it's
you.
on our website, it belongs to the library. The
Okay,
website belongs to the library.
okay,
So
okay,
I get it, but
okay.
if we want to
I
expand,
We could even just say like physical and digital property.
Property including photos taken by LLD staff or.
I mean, I just feel like
Yeah,
once you say
yeah.
property, then I feel like, wait, can I come on the property and take a photo? Can I not come on the
Right,
property? Because then I'm
right.
thinking
Yeah.
the property that the library owns, right? So like it gets,
Yeah.
a little confusing there.
Here's a suggestion.
Okay.
So A can stand alone, B can stand alone, and then we can have a C that is trustees shall not use LLD property such as, but not limited to, physical and digital, or we could say media, photos, something like that. I can come up with something in that vein, and then at our board meeting,
Okay.
if everybody's on the same page, we can adjust it there too.
But does,
Okay.
does that solve your issue though, Emily?
I think Tatiana's understanding what I'm saying for clarity, so I
Yeah,
trust that
that's right.
she'll come up with something good to
Yeah.
present to the full board.
It seems like even if no matter how much stuff we put, if someone still has a question, they're gonna have to come ask a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
And I think that's okay,
Okay.
because if I just read property, I would be like, oh, I can't take any pictures on the library property.
I can
That's
say,
it.
I can
Versus
say-
like, if she gives some specifics or whatever, then I'd be like, okay, so what does this mean?
Well,
then I would
yeah.
I
want
can
to
say
ask.
such as, but not limited to, LLD produced,
There you go.
There you
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
photographs,
That's great.
media, something.
Yep. That's good.
That's
Thank you.
very good. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
May I continue? Item C, number 2. It might just be me, I'm having one of those days today, when you say bring adult guests, do
This-
we allow children in?
So
the-
that's when this came, when we did this.
I'm sorry.
So for instance, I mean,
can
I
bring
know
my
why.
kids, but I can't bring an adult.
Right. So for example,
I
back
think
when this was
Jenny Norton, wasn't
created,
it?
no, it was me.
Was it you?
Back when this was created in 2019, like my youngest child
Oh,
was
I
7.
had no idea who
No,
this
so
involved.
my
I'm just-
youngest child was 7, and if I needed to come to do something, like I wasn't leaving him at home. If I needed to come do something here, I wasn't comfortable letting him sit, and he also wasn't of age to be in the library by himself. So he had to come with me into the administrative offices. So that's why we specified adult, because if someone was in a situation like that, a trustee, and they had a young child that they couldn't leave someplace, that's why that was created like that. Do you remember that?
I do. I thought
Yeah.
it was Jenny.
It wasn't.
It was you.
No, it
Okay.
was me. Because we
You
did
both
this.
had young children.
Because we did this in 2019. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I understood
That's what it
from
was.
it, was
Okay.
that like
Yeah.
minor children.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was why.
Well, when you don't have kids, that's. One more quick one it's not important. Under, I don't know if it's under 6, but my question was, we allow other trustees to pick up our packets for each other?
Is that a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, as long as you let
Okay,
us
and that's,
know.
no one has a problem. I don't, but the question was asked.
Oh, I
asked
see what
somebody-
you're saying. Trustees shall not review, search, open, or other trustees' mail, but that's not package.
No, it's not, well, a packet, it's not mail, but someone asked me that question, not a trustee,
Okay.
about picking up my packet.
Should we
Oh.
add something? Well, first of all, your packets aren't in the administrative offices.
No, they're at the circular, but as you say,
That's
a
what
friend
you're
of mine's
saying.
going to the library, you need anything? I go, oh yeah, pick up my packet.
I see.
Probably not.
I mean,
But it's public,
It's
it's a
public,
public
right.
document unless there's
Well,
something
sometimes
for
there's confidential
executive
stuff in
committee,
there,
right,
too.
yeah.
Sure.
No, that's true.
It could have.
It could have
Right,
confidential
right,
stuff in it.
right. Well, and I mean, you can't pick up a book for somebody without permission, I mean,
You have to put reciprocal.
Right, right, so.
Just,
I don't know, but I mean, my husband came and picked up mine, I know, when I was sick, and nobody, questioned him, which is great, because I wouldn't have had it otherwise, but I don't think I called ahead, I think I just
Do we
sent
want,
him on over, so.
do we want anything in here? We're trying to
Yeah,
find out
it's-
where it could
Where it
go.
would go.
Yeah, I mean, because it probably can put the desk staff in an awkward situation, if there isn't, more than anything, because then they're
Yeah.
kind of like, don't want to be rude, but on the other
Right.
hand, don't want to just be
Right.
handing things over. So I think at least without some sort of a,
I'm looking at all the categories. I'm wondering, like under.
Yeah, none of those are really.
Yeah.
I think Marjorie is correct, like it would probably best go under administrative office, but I wonder if we add something to like administrative office and trustee materials or,
Yeah.
and then.
In the heading, you're saying?
Yeah, in the heading, and then a number 7 could say, per trustee authorization, trustee materials may be retrieved or picked up by,
A designated representative or some.
designated something. I'll come up with something.
I don't know why I'm whispering about that. It's a good question.
So one thing that I was thinking about, under the decorum, so I know like the Illinois right to read and the ordinance that we approved, is in the bylaws already. But I was thinking about the elections and how a lot of libraries are getting a lot of like book banning candidates. Does it make sense to add something about that to decorum, just for future boards, so they have that in their arsenal? If a trustee is
Tell us your real
Sorry.
like if a trustee is talking about book banning and like going to the public with that, do we want to add that to the decorum section?
That gets
Yeah.
in a,
I
put us in a precarious
Uh-huh.
position.
Like, I mean, I understand where you're coming from,
Mhm.
but I also feel like if that's a candidate that the public votes in, we can't say in here, you know what I mean? Like we can't,
Mhm.
like I don't know if legally we can say something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Because
think,
it is in the bylaws.
yes, it says that we support,
Yeah.
the Lisle Library District supports this. But if someone like personally disagrees with parts of it, I mean, the district as a whole supports it, and we
Mhm.
can't restrict their
Individual.
feelings about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess that's the thing too. I mean, because that's where it talks about in that seat, that 3, encourage free expression of opinion,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, so, like, I don't know if we can limit.
Yeah.
Right, as long as they behave in the open, honest, and respectful manner
Right.
as they
Yeah.
That makes
conduct
sense.
themselves.
Like, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. I just don't know if we can.
Legally do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. That
Mm-hmm.
might make it easier for future boards to deal with that kind of stuff. But
Mhm.
yeah, that does make sense.
I mean, it never restricts any board from, ordinances are more legally binding, but the board can always like reaffirm a resolution
Mm-hmm.
as a board
Mhm.
and build resolutions that
Mhm.
affirm freedom of speech and like
Mhm.
create new resolutions
Mhm.
that affirm these qualities every time. So you have I'll use your word, arsenal of material that says our history, our boards
Right.
have always supported, check out all of these resolutions.
Okay.
Our bylaws do this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you can do all of that without restricting somebody's freedom of speech or
Mhm.
thought or whatever.
That's good. Is there anything else?
Under G, and I'm not a wordsmith like Emily and Vanessa, but on the last sentence, inappropriate behavior in an open meeting, so to ensure, shouldn't it be as to?
Wait, where are
The
you?
last sentence, G, breaches,
Yes.
Okay.
the last sentence. I think
Oh, I see.
I've heard it that way so many times, I don't know if it's correct. In an open meeting, so as to ensure.
Oh, I think I would
So
say
to
so as,
ensure?
I think I would say so as to
Yeah.
ensure that the public does not mistake action that is endorsed by the
So
board.
as to, I mean,
Yeah,
I use that all the time. I don't know if it's correct or not. I'm doing this so as to alleviate,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
doing this,
uh-huh.
okay.
I don't know.
No, I think you're right.
Can you just say, can you get rid
Yeah,
of
get
the
rid
whole
of the
thing and just say to ensure?
Open meeting, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's even
That's
better.
less words.
yep,
Oh,
There we go.
that was easy.
Yep.
Yeah, but you're right, it just read a
mhm,
little awkward.
Mhm.
So,
And then at the end, that last sentence in the whole thing needs a period.
Yeah, I'll go through
Oh.
all of this. There's
Yeah.
periods in B too and
yeah,
all that.
excuse me,
bless you.
thank you.
I have a question and I wonder if it might be for a separate discussion. When we get down to the procedure for a resolution of censure.
Mhm.
um, I have only experienced one in my 8 years. At the time, I had great difficulty with the process.
Mhm.
I don't feel that this addresses, if Tatiana, correct me, and Emily, if I'm wrong, but my recollection is, I don't believe as a trustee I had proper warning
Mhm.
that it was coming.
Mhm.
It was decided in one meeting at that meeting.
Mhm.
And I think it was very inappropriate that the board in general did not have an opportunity to discuss. I voted against that at a particular time because of the process. I agreed with censuring, but not the process. So I don't think, and I'm not trying to criticize that it's not in here. I think it has to be defined a little bit better for future.
So when that censure happened, we didn't have this
Right.
procedure,
I
and
understand.
we wrote this procedure
Because of
after that.
Yeah.
Okay,
To try to make sure that we were following all of these, I don't know, all of these
Steps.
steps. Thank you. I couldn't think of the steps, but all of these steps, and to ensure that every trustee did understand the process, what was happening, because we didn't have a procedure in place
No, we
when
didn't.
that happened. And I remember when we wrote this 5.5 years ago, we talked about, okay, because you were on the committee as well, and we talked about, okay, what do we need to make sure that we do to make sure that everyone is aware about what's happening? And so if it's unclear, because we haven't looked at this in 5.5 years. So if it's unclear, so, Vanessa and Debbie, when you're looking at it, if this isn't clear to you, like, we definitely need to spend some time making sure that it's clear and that it's, that we would know what to do or how it would work in that case.
So are you saying that, like, so this is saying that, like, somebody could bring up censure, it would be added to the agenda, and then board would vote on it at that same meeting?
Yes,
Are you
that's what
thinking that
happened.
there should be, like,
so let me, in procedure for a resolution of censure, E, we talk about a draft. That's great.
Mhm.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, that probably shouldn't be E. Should these be starting with A?
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, I'm looking at this.
Just, no, I mean, you're right that
Sorry.
it does say E, but
Oh,
but D, but it, you know what I mean. But it should start again.
Oh, yeah.
Not A.
what do you mean, Emily?
Just
the
the
letters keep
organizational,
going.
Right?
yeah.
Or should it stay
I-
D?
I think
A,
it
B,
should,
C,
this
D.
is weird. I have to look at that.
Oh, it's under a new.
Yeah.
See
I
what
know
you
it's
mean.
under a new little
Right.
heading
Yeah.
there.
It should have, I'll redo this. So it's formatted in,
Yeah, whatever the
Consistent.
formatting is
Yes,
supposed to
okay.
be. Okay, go ahead. So,
So-
the E.
So then we talk about a draft, and then we talk about in item I, the drafted resolution
Uh huh.
of the next, that satisfies me, but is it enough? I just, you know,
Yeah.
as you explained, I just want to be sure the board members have enough time to consider it.
5 days.
Mhm.
It's like 5 days. If it's on the agenda,
Okay,
you will receive it. I mean, this is the new steps is that if it's on the agenda for the next meeting, the board would receive it on a Friday generally and have 5 days until the meeting.
And then at that meeting, they would just be writing a draft resolution. And then at the following meeting is when it would get voted on?
No.
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 The drafted resolution shall
Would
be on the
included
agenda.
in the agenda?
in the packet.
Okay.
And
So
the regular
who drafts the resolution then?
It sounds like the board does.
Well,
When the
no.
sent,
No, that didn't,
No.
I'd hate to be in the past,
Yeah.
but that
No.
didn't happen.
That's
Well,
well. So H, if
yeah.
you look at H, it says the director shall consult with the board president in drafting a
Okay.
resolution.
Okay, okay.
Yes. And that's coming from resolution or censure items coming from the majority of the board. The director will draft a resolution per those recommendations of censure or items.
And so what we were saying then, just correct me if I'm wrong, because again, this is 5.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So when it says a majority of a quorum is required to draft a resolution of censure, so that's not like us in a meeting though. That's us. That's like 4 people contacting the director separately,
Mhm.
saying that they want this,
But-
right?
Right, but does the process include a warning before the actual censure?
It could. It depends, right?
But
So that's what
again-
this whole thing is about.
Okay.
Yes.
Um,
Like
I
the
think
public
that needs to
correction
be
and
clarified.
rebuke could
Yeah.
happen.
It could be a public correction rebuke. It could be a censure. It could be a public correction rebuke first and then a censure later if it happens again.
So
It
like the
could
first
be-
sentence of breaches, if you read, it says, it just, you must
I'm
Act-
sorry, Tatiana, were you?
Right here.
Just G,
Okay.
the first sentence, board members are expected to act responsibly and hold themselves to the highest ethical standards. And then breaches of the code of conduct may result in a public correction, an official rebuke, or censure. And when breaches occur, the board president shall address inappropriate behavior in an open meeting to ensure that the public does not mistake the action as endorsed by the board. And then it goes into what is a public correction or rebuke or a censure. So it just outlines what could happen.
Yeah, I viewed it as it would start with one and work down the list.
I think it
unless
depends on the
was-
severity.
Yeah.
But like more severe would end in censure.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then you do have a note in here somewhere that like if it's the board president,
Yeah,
then
that's
the
the
vice
footnote,
president, yeah.
Well, my concern is only that I like the public correction, I like the official rebuke. I don't like going directly to the censure.
Mhm.
That's where I'm coming from.
Well,
Okay,
I'm just gonna play devil's advocate. Let's pretend it never happened here, and
Okay.
let's think of like a really serious something.
Mhm.
I can't even think of something. Help me think. A really horrible censure like opportunity that would. Because I think you're leaning towards like we must warn the person first versus outright censure.
right,
Is that what you're talking about?
yes.
So is there anything that would be like so extreme
Oh, there may be, I'm not, I
that
certainly
might
don't
warrant
argue
a
that,
censure?
yeah.
Mhm.
What were you gonna
So
say?
you find out a trustee is running their like a fundraiser and just pocketing the money using our logo.
Right.
Like that I don't think just gets a slap on like don't
Yeah.
do that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like,
right,
that's,
right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that giving at the meeting discussing the resolution for censure, like that's where the draft is written up. So that's when other board members would have input to change things or modify.
And the person who's being censured has opportunity to defend or
Yeah.
discuss.
And then really this, we didn't have a trustee code of conduct or ethics policy before this censure happened.
Right.
Like we didn't have it. We had, this whole thing didn't exist. And so as a result, in the
You
personnel
came up
policy
with
committee,
that.
we were like,
Yeah.
we need to do this. We don't have this in place. We need to do this. And so we tried to make sure then that we covered all of our bases so that if something were to happen again,
Yeah.
we had a policy about it. And right, because the way that when this happened in the past, was it 2018? Was it 2019, early 2019 or 2018? Whenever it was, 2018. It was trustees not in together because we would have been in that violation of OMA, right? So there was communication, but separate about what should be on this censure.
Mm-hmm.
So when we saw the draft, the draft that went to the open meeting, it had things on there, but it didn't have everything that certain trustees had said they wanted to be on there. It didn't have that stuff on there already. Whereas like this, we were trying to have this would allow a conversation in an open meeting to happen where people could say, I would like this to be in here, or no, I would like this to be stricken from there, or whatever, to have that discussion in an open meeting.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what we were doing with this as well, was that so that people could give the input
Right.
in an open meeting.
Yeah, and the director would just work with the president to
Mm-hmm.
come up with a guideline based off of all the input she's gotten from everybody coming to her separately.
Let me just throw this out there then. Does anyone consider a censure of a board member something that should only be discussed? We're not personnel because we're not employees
Right.
in an executive session. Just asking. Just asking.
I think a censure is a public meeting thing. Like I think that is in the public, right? A censure, like, is that, I mean, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
Under Open Meetings Act.
Yeah.
It's really, the term is disciplinary action. And I mean, I think it's very gray if you are disciplining a elected official. So it could or it couldn't.
Okay.
Well,
Every time I've ever spoken to the attorney on anything OMA, it's lean on the side of transparency and do things in open meeting. That's always been the case, unless it's personnel or medical. So that's where I'm not a lawyer, but I would recommend leaning towards open discussion.
okay.
Yeah, because like trustees are like we're public servants, like
And we were elected to represent.
right. Yeah, I don't
Right,
feel
the
like that's
taxpayers.
I see where you're coming from, that it might be like there might be situations where
Well, to be honest, let's just say if we had a trustee that was for something, and we were talking about book banning, and got, a majority of the residents or a group of residents or whatever, it could get, if they incite or they whatever, I could see us, censuring goes both ways. It could be a board member that I'm not going to say anymore. It's
No.
too delicate. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
No,
Like,
I don't
it's-
like having this discussion.
Well, I
People
appreciate
misunderstand where I'm
understanding
coming from.
to clarify any of this. It's a lot
it's important.
to understand in the first place. I feel like if it comes again, we will be pulling this out before we make the next move, and so I'm just trying to.
I think this covers what I'm getting
And I
at.
think
It's a vast improvement. I mean,
Because it didn't exist.
right, no,
Yeah.
absolutely, Emily.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
And just
I know.
remember that any public correction or rebuke or censure, it relates to the trustee code of conduct. It's really not about someone's opinions
Mhm.
unless they do something against the code of conduct. So
Okay,
And having it in an open meeting, they
Mhm.
can explain and defend themselves and like,
right,
I feel like
Mhm.
that's
Right, and have that as a public record,
right.
for sure.
I think that's why, I mean, looking back at this, underneath the procedure for a resolution of censure, that very first one, a member may call for a formal censure in open meeting or via email to the board president copying the director. So, like, if we were in a situation where, I don't know, in the last 5 minutes, now that we have the individual trustee comments at the end of the meeting, in those 5 minutes, if someone says, I would like to request a formal censure of so-and-so because of such and such,
Mhm.
we would all hear it.
Mhm.
And then because you need a majority of a quorum to draft a resolution of censure, then like, let's say I said I would like to issue call a formal censure on such and such. And then let's say the three of you all agree with me. Then you all email Tatiana separately. And then we would have, or me, right now, the board president. And then we have a majority of a quorum. Then it would be drafted. At the next meeting, we would have this draft
and discuss it.
and discuss
Yeah.
it. So you could do that, or you could just be like, hey, I would like to do this, and just send an email directly. And then if other people contact, they can do it that way, and then it can come up as well. I think that's what we did for there, was to cover both bases. If someone wanted to bring it up in an open meeting, or if they just wanted to email and go that way.
Mm-hmm.
But one person emailing would not constitute
No.
censor, and you wouldn't
No.
reach out to the other board members and ask, so it would have to be individuals.
Yes. It's the same kind of thing if trustees want to get something on the agenda for a
Yep.
meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
The board president and the director set the agenda. If someone, again, in their 5 minutes or some other time says, I would like to discuss this at a future meeting, but only one person says it,
Mhm.
and then no one else contacts me and the director to say, I would also like to discuss this, it will not get on the agenda
Unless you just
unless
agree with
I
it.
just agree
Yeah.
with it and put it
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's the
Gotcha.
same kind of
Mhm.
thing that you have to get multiple,
Consensus.
yeah.
So can the public bring about a censor? Can censure? No.
They
They
can
cannot.
do say anything they want in public comment and
Right,
say, I
right.
think you should.
Mhm.
But it's up to the board.
Okay, so they could email and bring something, and then we can go from there if we think it's of any interest or
Sure.
anything. Okay.
This is very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gratefully, this is very
Yeah.
rare.
I'm good.
Any other discussion?
Oh, I put a period at the end of that last thing, but I think we all did that. Didn't we discuss
Yeah.
it already? I was like, I see it there.
Okay, so are we good bringing this one to the full board at the next meeting? Great. Okay, next is agenda item 7, to discuss the LLD policy 325, schedule of fines, fees, and financial transactions.
So this one was last updated in 2020, again, reformatted to match the other policies with the item letters and numbering. I rephrased the last sentence in the introduction statement just to be more clear. And it was this policy that staff asked if the board would consider removing the processing fees for materials that are lost and damaged. And so I think we've discussed this before in some meetings before, but reprocessing an item does incur costs, like for time and supplies for staff to do it, but it also falls under that category of just like, it's the cost of doing library business.
Right.
So we just feel we don't need to tack an additional fee onto this work, just the cost of the item. So like if a book costs $25, the patron would pay the $25 and not add an additional $5 to that. So this change appears under item B3. And then under item C2, it was just a clarification there about streaming and downloadable materials versus using the word digital, just to be clear about it. And then under G, it was just a clarification under number 3 there. And that was the only changes. And as long as the committee is okay with removing that $5 processing fee, that's really the only major change to this policy. Unless you found other grammatical or periods. And I know the numbering and the lettering is in red versus the brown. That will change, obviously.
I just had a question about borrowing privileges will be suspended in the following cases. Is there policy for reinstating, or like how does this suspension work?
Oh, and C?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's reinstated after it's resolved.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure I'm correct in everything here.
You're talking about how the suspension would go away?
Yeah.
Is that what you're
Maybe
asking?
if we,
So I can just tell you from experience. So one of my family members,
Don't out him.
well, this is a different family member, but I have had to pay the extra $5 fee 3 times for a family member. But I had another family member who had not returned an item for a long time, and when I went to pick up something that family member had requested, and I have access to their card, I went to check it out, and I had already returned the item. I had just returned the item, and then I went to check it out, but it was flagged that there was a hold on it. So then I walked over and said, "You did return the item," and so then they had to like go in, but because it was, the letter had already gone out that that it was this missing book and that we need our material and we needed to pay for it. They had to go in on this different end to clear it out on their end at the circulation desk before I could check out the new material under this family member's card. So anyway, but it does go away.
so maybe if instead of when if individuals' fines or fees reach $10, because that seems to imply like you hit the $10 mark and you're done. It's when they are above $10, because if you have
the $10,
exactly if you have $10.25 on your account and you come in and because one book was overdue for 50 cents, you get rid of that. You go below $10, your account's reactivated.
But we don't even have overdue fines anymore. I mean, we got rid of those.
Oh,
right?
that's
So
true.
it just would be missing materials.
Maybe you're replacing 2 like $5 paper bags or that's 2 $6 paper bags. You could pay the 6 and get back below 10. So you still would owe 6, but you can check out again.
Okay,
So as
gotcha.
long as you're below $10.
So how do you want to word it?
So what did you just say, Will?
Yeah.
Just when an individual's fines / fees
Exceeds $10?
Yeah, that's good. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I
about-
think that clears it.
Oh, I guess it would just be exceed, right? Because it's fines, fees,
Yeah.
exceed.
Exceed.
It just wasn't clear to me that like once you reach $10, are you suspended forever?
No.
You know, like so exceed, then you get back.
Bargain privileges reinstated.
Yeah. I do have to say that I've had to do
I was like, don't embarrass me at the library.
Well, I paid for Arthur videos. My kids are a lot older than yours, but now we got stuck with, oh my gosh.
Debbie, I had a child who really liked a book from the library and purposely hid it behind our bookshelf so we couldn't find it so that we could keep it.
Yeah.
And then we did.
Yeah, then you owned it.
We did.
And I had one that liked to read everywhere, so a couple times library books were found in the backyard after it had rained.
Ah. Oh.
I always you're just supporting the library.
Yep, I know.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to support the library. It's fine. So here's a question then in the waivers and G waivers now. If we're not going to have associated fees, look at number 1. Material / item replacement costs and associated fees may not be waived for lost or damaged items. So there are no associated fees anymore, right? If we're doing this, so we'll get rid of that part. Or is there another fees? Well, you're
When it goes to collections. if they keep it for that long.
That's true.
Oh,
Yeah.
so leave us and associated fees?
Yeah, I mean, we do state that we do not, we removed the $5, but there
Okay.
could be other
Mhm.
Oh,
associated.
so
Yeah,
others
right.
associated, okay,
Because we do charge them for the collection agency.
okay.
Good call.
I didn't have anything
Under
else.
F, do we pay a fee to use a credit card?
Yes. I don't know the pennies that it costs per use, but yes.
But that's why we put that in there.
Pardon me?
That's why we put that in there. Because if it's whatever, there is an amount that we end up just paying because we pay so for the X amount for the transaction fee.
It's usually like 3% or
Yeah,
something
it's
like
Oh,
that.
I
Yeah.
thought,
Mhm.
yeah.
But if your charge is under $1, then it doesn't. It's like we end up paying more.
Yeah.
Mhm,
It's just,
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. And I should know this, but what's the difference between interlibrary loan, loaning institution, and reciprocal? I always thought in the book club, when we get our books from, we don't have enough supply to, there's 12 people in the book club. I thought that was interlibrary.
interlibrary loan is just the term for when we pull books from other institutions.
And you could say we have a reciprocal with the other
We
institution.
have a reciprocal relationship
Okay.
with another institution, but interlibrary loan is just it's a term for the process for all libraries.
And is interlibrary loan when, like, I come here, request it, you get it for me, I come back here and get it
Yes.
from here versus reciprocal, I go to another library,
Oh,
I
okay.
And check
use
it
my
out,
card there
As a reciprocal.
patron and get it from there and return it to there.
Yes.
That's the difference?
That does answer the good. What's a loaning institution may also suspend?
It just means that it's not necessarily a public library. It could be an academic library,
Okay.
a special library, even like the Vatican is a loaning institution.
Well, I get my books.
Directly from them, yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a quote library per se
Okay.
or a public library.
The Vatican.
I'm gonna have to try
Should
that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shipping charges on that, yeah.
Anything else? Are we good to bring this one to the full board?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Great job.
Yes.
Wow.
This is a lot.
Agenda
This is a
items.
lot.
That is a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
For agenda item 8 is to adjourn. May I have a motion and a second?
A motion to adjourn.
I will second.
Vanessa Berry,
Aye.
Emily Swistek,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Debbie Brett.
Aye.
Okay, so our meeting is adjourned at 8:12 p.m.